She stood at my door, drenched from the rain, her eyes swollen with regret. "Please, just give me a chance to explain," she whispered, her voice trembling. I hadn't seen her in a year, not since I discovered her affair and left without a word. I thought I'd buried the pain, moved on. But in that moment, staring into the eyes of the woman who broke me, I realized some wounds don't stay hidden forever. We met in the most unexpected way, at a coffee shop where she accidentally spilled her drink on me. She laughed nervously, apologized a dozen times, and somehow, that awkward moment turned into a conversation that lasted hours. That's how it started, simple, effortless. It felt like fate had its own plans. Our relationship grew fast. She was everything I thought I wanted, smart, funny, with a smile that could light up any room. We talked about everything, our dreams, fears, plans for the future. I felt like I'd found my person. We got married a year later in a small ceremony, surrounded by friends and family. I looked into her eyes, promising to love her forever, never imagining that one day I'd be looking into those same eyes filled with guilt and regret. The first few years were good, really good. Late-night talks, spontaneous road trips, lazy Sundays spent wrapped up in each other. We were a team, or at least that's what I believed. But looking back now, I realized the cracks had started to form long before I noticed. She became distant, not all at once, but gradually. She'd laugh at my jokes less, spend more time at work, glued to her phone when she was home. I convinced myself it was stress, that every couple goes through rough patches. I never imagined the truth was far worse than just growing apart. It was a Friday night. She said she had to work late, again. I nodded, pretending not to notice how she avoided my eyes, how her smile didn't quite reach the corners like it used to. I sat alone at the dinner table, staring at the cold plate of food I'd made for both of us, trying to ignore the growing pit in my stomach. But that night felt different. Maybe it was intuition. Maybe just the accumulation of months of small, unexplained absences. I couldn't shake the feeling, so I did something I'd never done before. I checked her phone. She always kept it locked, but this time she'd left it open. The screen lit up with a message. "Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you." My heart didn't break all at once. It shattered slowly, with every word I read, every photo I saw, every detail of a life she had been living behind my back. I stared at those messages, feeling like the air had been sucked out of the room. But I didn't get angry. I didn't wake her up to confront her. I didn't even cry. Something inside me just shut down. I realized that words wouldn't fix anything. There was nothing left to say. So, I packed a small bag, just the essentials. No keepsakes, no reminders. I left my wedding ring on the nightstand, next to her phone, and walked out the door without making a sound. No note. No explanation. Just silence. As I closed the door behind me, I thought I'd left the pain there too. But pain has a way of following you, no matter how far you run. Leaving was supposed to be the hardest part. But it wasn't. It was waking up the next morning in an unfamiliar place, realizing that the life I'd built was gone. That was the real heartbreak. I moved to a new city, far from the memories. A small apartment with bare walls, a mattress on the floor, and nothing to remind me of her. No wedding photos. No gifts we exchanged. Just empty space and the echo of what used to be. I thought if I stripped everything down to the basics, I could rebuild myself without the pieces she'd broken. The first few weeks felt like I was on autopilot. Wake up, go to work, come home, stare at the ceiling until sleep finally won. Even sleep wasn't an escape. My dreams were haunted by her face, her laughter, the warmth of a love that now felt like a lie. I'd wake up with my heart racing, reaching for someone who wasn't there, someone I didn't want to be there anymore. I avoided people. Conversations felt exhausting because everyone wanted to know, "Are you okay?" And how do you answer that? "No, I'm not okay. I'm unraveling." But you smile, you nod, and you lie because it's easier than explaining the emptiness. I thought work would be my escape. Deadlines, meetings, endless tasks to keep my mind occupied. But grief is clever. It hides in the smallest things. In the empty chair across from me at dinner, in the song playing softly in the background of a coffee shop, in the way strangers held hands like nothing could ever break them. There were days I hated her, really hated her. For the lies, the betrayal, the way she made me question my worth. But there were also days I hated myself more. For not seeing the signs, for trusting blindly, for believing that love was enough. I'd replay every moment in my head, wondering what I missed. Was it the late nights? The fake smiles? The distant hugs? How did I not see it? I tried dating once or twice, but it felt empty, like trying to fill a broken glass. No matter how much I poured in, it would always leak out. I wasn't ready. I was still holding on to something that wasn't even real anymore. I'd compare every laugh, every touch, every conversation to her, and not because I missed her, but because I was trying to understand how someone could pretend so well. But healing isn't linear. It's not a straight path. Some days I felt strong, like I was finally moving on. Other days, I felt like I was drowning in memories I didn't ask to keep. It's funny how grief doesn't announce itself. It sneaks up on you. In the grocery store when you pass her favorite cereal, in the way the sunlight hits the floor exactly like it did in your old living room. And then, slowly, things started to change. Not in big, dramatic ways. Just small shifts, a laugh that didn't feel forced, a night of uninterrupted sleep, a morning where I didn't think of her first thing. I found new routines, new people, new reasons to get up in the morning. I learned to enjoy my own company, to find peace in silence instead of fear. I started writing again, something I'd given up when we were together. I picked up hobbies I'd neglected, met people who didn't know my past, who saw me for who I was, not who I used to be. I thought I'd left her behind, that I'd buried the pain deep enough to forget. But pain has roots, and sometimes those roots find their way back to the surface, often when you least expect it. Like the day she found me again. It was an ordinary day, the kind you don't expect to remember. I had just gotten back from work, grocery bag in one hand, keys in the other. The sun was setting, casting a soft orange glow through my apartment window. I thought it was just another quiet evening, another small victory in my journey of moving on. Then there was a knock at the door. Soft, hesitant, almost unsure. I wasn't expecting anyone. Maybe a neighbor, I thought, or someone delivering a package. But when I opened the door, it wasn't a neighbor. It wasn't a stranger. It was her. She stood there, drenched from the rain, her hair clinging to her face, her eyes swollen and red, haunted by the same ghost I'd been trying to bury. She didn't look like the woman I left behind. She looked smaller, fragile, like life had carved its regret into every line of her face. For a moment, we just stared at each other, the silence between us louder than any words could ever be. Her lips trembled as she tried to speak, but the words got caught in her throat. Finally, she managed to whisper, "Please just hear me out." I should have slammed the door. I thought about it, but curiosity, or maybe closure, held me in place. I stepped aside, and she walked in, dripping water onto the floor, her presence heavier than the silence that followed. She didn't sit. She just stood there, wringing her hands like she could squeeze the guilt out of them. Her voice was shaky when she finally spoke. "I've been looking for you. I needed to see you. I needed to tell you, I'm sorry." Sorry. That word felt like both too much and not enough. I leaned against the wall, crossing my arms, my face blank even though my chest was a battlefield. "A year," I said quietly. "And all you have is sorry?" Her eyes filled with fresh tears, spilling over as she choked on her words. I was wrong. I was selfish. I don't know what I thought. I made the biggest mistake of my life, and I've been living with it every single day since you left. She talked about her regret, her sleepless nights, how the affair meant nothing compared to what she lost. She told me about the silence that followed when I left, how she thought I'd come back, how she realized too late that I never would. And I listened, not because I wanted to forgive her, not because I missed her, but because I needed to hear it, to confirm what I already knew, that walking away was the best decision I ever made. When she finished speaking, the room was filled with nothing but silence, the kind that presses against your chest, heavy and suffocating. She looked at me, her face drenched in tears, searching for something, hope, maybe. A sign that I'd say the words she desperately wanted to hear. But I didn't. I just stood there, letting her regret fill the space between us. After a long pause, I finally spoke, my voice calm but firm. "You know, I used to replay the day I left over and over again in my head, wondering if I should have stayed and fought for us. But standing here, right now, I realize I didn't lose you. You lost me." Her face crumbled, her knees almost giving out as she whispered, Please just give me one more chance. I've changed. I've been miserable without you. I shook my head gently. I'm glad you found me, I said softly. But not for the reason you think. She stepped forward, reaching out like she wanted to touch me, to close the distance, but I stepped back, the space between us growing wider than the years that had passed. I forgave you a long time ago, I continued. But not for you. I forgave you because I needed to. I needed to be free from the anger, the betrayal, the pain. And I don't hate you. I don't love you. I just don't feel anything anymore. Her tears fell harder, her body shaking with silent sobs. But there was nothing left to say. No words could undo the damage. No apology could stitch the pieces back together. I walked to the door, opened it slowly, and without looking back, I said the final words she'd never forget, goodbyes. And just like that, I closed the door. Not just the one in front of me, but the one in my heart. As the door clicked shut, I stood there, not because I was holding on to something, but because I was finally letting go. The silence that once felt suffocating was now liberating. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't haunted by what-ifs or maybes. There was no more need to rewind the past, searching for answers in places where none existed. I realized that healing isn't loud. It doesn't come with grand gestures or dramatic apologies. Healing is quiet. It's in the mornings when you wake up and don't feel the heaviness in your chest. It's in the simple act of breathing without pain, smiling without forcing it, and looking in the mirror without seeing a reflection defined by someone else's betrayal. She came back looking for forgiveness, hoping my heart was still a place she could call home. But what she didn't realize is that I had already moved out. I had packed up the pain, the heartbreak, and the memories, and left them behind long before she knocked on my door. Forgiveness isn't a gift you give to the person who hurt you. It's a gift you give to yourself. It's choosing to no longer carry the weight of someone else's mistakes. I didn't forgive her because she deserved it. I forgave her because I deserved peace, freedom, and the chance to write a new story, one where she was just a chapter, not the whole book. So, if you're waiting for closure, for that one moment, that one apology to set you free, let me tell you this. It won't come from them. It comes from within. It comes the day you decide you don't need their words to validate your worth. And sometimes, the most powerful closure doesn't come from hearing, "I'm sorry." It comes from standing tall, walking away, and saying, "I'm done." Because the truth is, the strongest goodbyes are the ones where you don't look back,